Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio, 2015. Directed by Alejandro Iñárritu. So the synopsis: a frontiersman on a fur trading expedition in the 1820s fights for survival after being mauled by a bear and left for dead by members of his own hunting team. Stars DiCaprio, Tom Hardy. So obviously, very famous movie. DiCaprio won the Oscar finally for this. Big movie back in 2015. For some reason, I never watched it, and I just watched it, and gotta say, I mean, great movie. Maybe a little too long, maybe, but it's really good. I mean, beautiful photography. I think all of it was natural light. They still use like mechanisms to amplify the light, like reflective surfaces and things like that. But still, it's all pretty much just natural light. Gorgeously shot by Emmanuel Lubetsky, who did Birdman, Gravity, Children of Men. So, very good cinematographer. The New World, by Terrence Malick. The Cat in the Hat, the classic, The Cat in the Hat. Also, Ali, Sleepy Hollow. Wow, Sleepy Hollow. No, that's a gorgeous looking movie, or gorgeously creepy because it's Tim Burton. But yeah. So I mean, I think most people know the story. It's quote unquote based on a true story, but I'll get into a little bit of that, which most of it is not actually. But I mean, he was attacked by a bear. This guy. He worked for the Rocky Mountain Fur Company in 1822. Hugh Glass. In the movie, he's attacked by a bear after they're being chased by Native Americans, and a lot of them get killed. Some of them escape down a river with Tom Hardy and some other people like Donald Gleason or Domhnall. What's his name? Domhnall Gleason, and they're attacked by a bear. And or he's attacked by a mother bear, and a brutal scene. I mean, you can tell that the bear is CG, but it looks pretty good. I mean, there's not much CG in this movie, so it looks pretty good. And brutal scene. And then they try to help him for a while, and they're trying to bring him back to a town. And this is in the Dakotas, or was supposed to be, but I think they shot other places. But they're trying to bring him back to a town, but they just can't make it because they're dragging him through the snow. So they end up leaving him with Tom Hardy, who already has established he doesn't like Leonardo DiCaprio. And Leonardo DiCaprio has a son who's a Native American, half Native American. And he had a wife who was killed, who was Native American. And Tom Hardy was actually partly scalped by Native Americans in earlier, which they don't show, but he has a brutal scar on his head. And let's just say he's not a fan of Native Americans. And he makes that totally clear, and him and his son have kind of a beef. And anyways, it's just him, his son, DiCaprio, who can barely move, and another guy, Will Poulter, who's like friends with DiCaprio's son. And Tom Hardy ends up betraying them he kind of makes a deal with DiCaprio. He's like, blink your eyes if you want me to end it for you. And DiCaprio does, but I mean, I don't know, it's like you have to blink your eyes, so it's not. And then later on he says like, I didn't make a deal with you. So but he's like he's basically just trying to get rid of him, because he's also offered like hundreds of dollars to do this, to wait. They're gonna go to town, they're gonna come back, they're gonna take DiCaprio and help him. And so then he starts killing DiCaprio. His son walks in on him. He attacks him. Tom Hardy pulls a knife. He kills his son. Will Poulter comes back, and then he's like, where's his son at? He's like, I don't know. He hides the body. Then like a day or two later, he says that he sees the Native American tribe who is tracking them, and there's a bunch of them close by. We have to leave right now. So Will Poulter doesn't want to do this. He feels really bad, because they're just like, we just have to abandon the guy. And they abandon him in a grave. They throw some dirt on him. Will Poulter is nice enough to give him his canteen of water, and then they leave. And the rest of the movie is like a day or two after that. DiCaprio is able to move a little bit. He begins to slowly move. He sees his son is dead. He starts drinking some of the water. A few days later, he's moving more. And it's basically his arduous trek through the wilderness, the freezing wilderness, for revenge on Tom Hardy, mainly, because Will Poulter really was not the driving force of it, and he was just a kid, really. So, but Tom Hardy's pretty evil in the movie. In one scene, well, spoilers, but I don't even consider it a spoiler, though. Tom Hardy starts talking about how he ate someone, because they like, what was it? He said like they were stranded on the wilderness, they were starving. He ended up killing, I think, one guy, and he ended up eating him. So, I mean, he's just a very likable character. Tom Hardy doing another kind of weird voice, but he's really good. I'm a big fan of Tom Hardy. He's very good in it. So is DiCaprio. DiCaprio doesn't really say that much, really, because he got his throat got slashed by the bear. In a brutal scene, he cauterizes it with black powder in the wilderness, and so he can barely talk. And yeah, and then it's his revenge story. So okay, now spoilers. Now, in reality, there was no son. There's no evidence he was married to a Native American woman. Now, as far as I can tell, he was attacked by a bear. The bear violently attacked him, and then he was left for dead by his compadres. He was a fur trapper. Signed up for an expedition backed by General William Henry Ashley and Major Andrew Henry, who together founded the Rocky Mountain Fur Company in 1822. He replied to an ad in 1823. He couldn't read or write, so this is all written by someone else a few years later. So anyway, it seems like they're not exactly sure, obviously, what happened and not. I mean, it was like 200 years ago, but he was left for dead, and this is from dailyhistory.org. So it says the movie does accurately reflect his amazing story of endurance and survival. Glass, as in the movie, did survive a grizzly bear attack, was abandoned and managed to make his way to safety. As in the movie, the real life Glass was abandoned by his colleagues. They believed that he was going to die and felt that he was placing them in danger. The movie is a revenge story, and this too is also historically accurate. However, the movie does not stay faithful to the story of Hugh Glass in key respects. The historical character did seek out those who abandoned him, but he did not kill them. Moreover, he did not die as portrayed in the movie, although I don't know. I think it's a little ambiguous if he dies in the end. Um, I think, but I don't know. I guess I guess the movie's kind of pushing to that because he has a spoilers. I mean, I mean, it's obvious he catches up with Tom Hardy. He has an epic fight with him. He wins, and he's also pretty injured, and he's in the middle of a freezing wilderness. But he could have been rescued because there's also some Native Americans nearby too. Some of the characters in the movie are fictional, such as the central character's son and wife. Many of the details of adventure are exaggerated and incorrect. Overall, the movie is fairly historically accurate. It was loosely based on the remarkable story of the frontiersman and his amazing feat of survival. So yeah, that's how what I would feel. I didn't know when I was watching it that isn't true about basically the Native American son gives him extra impetus to go after Tom Hardy. It's very Hollywood, but overall it feels historically accurate enough to me. There's some other inaccuracies, like Tom Hardy, I think, mentions that his dad is a Texas Ranger, and he's going to go back to Texas and maybe join them. But at this time, Mexico actually controlled Texas, and there were no Texas Rangers, as far as I understand. And also, when they left him, it was in the prairies of the Dakotas, and it wasn't during winter. So, but it's still an arduous trek. I mean, it's like 200 miles or something. And he's half dead. So they upped the ante there by adding all the snow. I mean, I'm sure it probably wasn't warm. It's probably somewhat chilly, but as far as I can understand, it wasn't freezing like that. It wasn't snow everywhere. So but yeah, what I just read a lot was from dailyhistory.org. I don't know. They have an article on it. I read some other articles that seem to agree with what this is saying. So yeah, it says he was abandoned by his comrades in the prairie and not in the mountain country. Moreover, he was forsaken by fellow hunters during the summer and not in the depths of winter as shown. The torturous journey of Glass, which is so beautifully photographed in the movie, did not happen as portrayed. In the movie, we see DiCaprio escaping, pursuing Native American warriors by throwing himself into a river. However, there is no real evidence for this, and much of the details of Glass's adventures in the motion picture are fictional. The Revenant shows Glass being held by a Pawnee whose family have been murdered. There's no evidence that this occurred. Right. But I mean, if you're just watching it as a movie, I mean, you should never take your history from movies, really. Like Braveheart has a lot of tons of inaccuracies. I love that movie. To me, movies that take place hundreds of years ago, it's not about if it's accurate or not. It just overall kind of has to feel like it is to me. You know, like Gladiator, Braveheart. I mean, there's a bunch of inaccuracies in those movies, but overall, it just feels like I let it pass, I guess. But Braveheart and Gladiator are different because I saw them when I was a kid. I've always loved Braveheart, but overall, it just doesn't bother me. There's a bunch of inaccuracies in it, but it just doesn't bother me that much. So it's the same thing with this movie. I really enjoyed it. DiCaprio finally got his Oscar. Good for him. I think he should have got it also for The Wolf of Wall Street, but it is what it is. Because they need to have two, but So let's see, what else did it win? So Tom Hardy was nominated for The Revenant, but Mark Rylance for Bridge of Spies won it. Okay. Sylvester Stallone was nominated for Creed. I think he should have won that year for that. But I'm a big Sylvester Stallone fan, so that maybe that's just me. But I think he should have won. Or Tom Hardy, not Mark Rylance. I'm sorry. Bridge of Spies is a mediocre movie that I watched years ago, and it's kind of boring. I mean, he's good in it, but I think it's because, Mark Rylance has had a very long career, and they're kind of rewarding him for it, I think. Maybe not, but so who won cinematography? Did this win it? Yeah, The Revenant. Okay, good. Well, it won this. Mad Max Fury Road was nominated, Sicario, The Hateful Eight, Carol, which I've never seen, but The Revenant was one. That's good. Agree with that. So, best film editing, Mad Max Fury Road won. The Big Shot, The Revenant, Spotlight, and The Force Awakens were nominated. But Mad Max won. I'd agree with that. That movie has great editing. And the director won. Iñárritu for The Revenant. He won. The Big Short was nominated. Mad Max Fury Road was nominated. The movie called Room, not The Room, not the terrible movie The Room with Tommy Wiseau. And Spotlight was nominated for Best Director. So DiCaprio chose to devour a raw slab of bison liver, even though he's a vegetarian. He also had to learn to shoot a musket, build a fire, speak 2 Native American languages, Pawnee and Arikara, and study with a doctor who specializes in ancient healing techniques. DiCaprio calls it the hardest performance of his career. Iñárritu was insistent that computer-generated imagery not be used to enhance the film. If we ended up with a green screen with coffee and everybody having a good time, everybody will be happy, but most likely the film will be a POS. And then, yeah, some of the trivia. Hugh Glass did not have a son. There's no record that he was ever married. Hugh Glass lived 1783 to 1883, or 1783 to 1833. And the film takes place in 1823. But yeah, overall, I really liked it. And yeah, check it out. Beautiful movie, beautifully shot, brutal movie. Not all totally accurate, of course, but good job to DiCaprio for finally getting the Oscar. So, but like, comment, subscribe, and see you next time.